Chemistry is nature's way of tricking us into attachment. And women, we're very good at hearing what we want to hear.
If you are wondering, is this a good guy? Can I really trust myself? And you think, man, I would let my sister date this guy. I can see his integrity. Those are all green flags.
Before the date, you want to think about, who is it that I want to be with?
Welcome back to the Dear Future Husband podcast. I'm your host, Christian. We love to talk about praying for your future husband, how to have a thriving, godly marriage. But in order to get there, you have to first navigate the waters of dating, which, if we're honest, are not always easy. There's so many different ways to date. There's so many different stages and different nuances to even the first date experience. And I'm here for you girls. I understand it's not easy. I put a poll up recently asking you guys, what are some of the questions you have around dating? Even the questions that you're like, am I weird for asking this? Or I don't know who to ask this. Don't worry. This is a safe community and a place where we can talk about all things dating, all things love, all things relationships. Some of you ask questions around who you're dating, saying, I always date the wrong guy, or the right guy never shows interest in me. I don't know if the right guy exists. Others of you ask dating questions around, how do I even go on a first date? What should I be looking for? How soon should I ask the hard questions? And while we'll dive into some of these topics at length in future episodes, I wanted to have this podcast be a way, almost of an introduction, a way just to tiptoe into some of these conversations, because we know sometimes too much information is just a plethora floating around in our head. So let's have this conversation as a way to tiptoe in, get a better understanding, even just some confidence on going on the dates you'll be on this year and approaching them with success, with joy, with expectation. For this conversation, I brought on Bela Gandhi, founder of Smart Dating Academy, to ask her some of these practical questions around dating, how to date well, how to self-assess and assess your date. And while I will leave practical tips to be helpful, especially if you're on the beginning of your dating journey, I also want to edify you. You are worthy. You are a catch. You will and can have successful dating and marriage. And when you have the Holy Spirit inside of you, that is our best discernment. He's our guide. He is our wisdom. And I want you to use that in your dating journey. So use the practical tips, get your friends involved, have mentorship, but also just know if you're trusting the Holy Spirit, He'll never lead you astray. All that being said, let's jump into some of these dating tips so you can have a successful dating journey in 2024. Ladies, I bet you guys are tired of just hearing my dating advice. Hopefully not. That's why you're still tuning on. But I thought it would be great if we could actually bring on someone that does this every day, that sees the scope inside and out. And that's why I want to thank Bela Gandhi for joining me today. She is nicknamed the fairy godmother of dating. So I am looking forward to see what you share with us today, Bela. Thank you for joining.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, I was telling you a little bit about this before we joined, but a lot of the women listening here are just waiting and believing, truly believing that they're going to find the right guy, but are running into some awkward dates, guys not having the confidence to ask them out, wondering, how do I even begin to date? So I thought it'd be fun to start off and see, we do trending reports for fashion, for design. What are the dating trending reports for 2024? What should women even be aware of if they're starting to date this year?
Well, right now, I'll tell you, from December 25th through February 14th, we're in what's called peak dating season. And so if you feel like all of your friends are coupled up or maybe getting engaged, getting married, I'll tell you what, the data show that 48% of Americans are unmarried, single. So if you feel like you're the last person out there that's uncoupled, that doesn't have a boo, I'm here to tell you that is patently false. So this is a great time of year to dip your toe into the pool. But dating and finding a partner is potentially the most important thing and the biggest decision you'll ever make, especially if you decide you want to have kids with this person. And so it's something to really take seriously and to think about and to do some introspection and to have a plan.
Okay, I'm curious right now. I'm listening to all this as if I were still my single self Bella, what is the plan? How do you even go about planning your date before you even go on one?
Well, first of all, before the date, you want to think about like, who is it that I want to be with, right? Because most of you, I'm guessing, listening to this amazing podcast, you're not out there, you're dating patiently, but you're dating consciously, and you're dating as a means to an end. You're not dating for dating's sake. Is that true or not true?
I mean, I don't know how anyone can do that, dating for dating's sake, and be sane. It's a tough world out there.
It makes you crazy.
Just a little bit.
The first step is looking at your own self, right? Have I been in relationships before? How have those served me? Do I have family trauma? Am I repeating family trauma again, right? And I know that can be little t trauma or big T, but am I choosing people that aren't good for me, but kind of seem like people that I know from my family? That's probably something to get help around. Hire a dating coach, hire someone like me. And this is what we do every single day, is help people to make sure that they don't keep picking bad people over and over again. Because if you're thinking about getting married, the divorce rates really suck. For first marriages, it's 40 to 50%. For people that try it again, second marriages, the rate is 67%. So you don't want, if your picker, I call it your picker. If your people picker, your guy picker, your partner picker is broken, you need help fixing that. So number one, is your picker fixed or is it broken? That's the first thing you need to think about before you get out there and swipe on all these randos, right? Because then you get there, you're like, well, he didn't knock my socks off, right? I didn't have chemistry, so back to the pond. Wait a second, okay? Chemistry is nature's way of tricking us into attachment. And so, and a lot of chemistry is just familiarity.
That's so interesting. I'm even thinking of the phrase that you date your dad a lot. And that's something at some points I thought, oh no, that's going to be the worst moments of interaction with my dad. I'm going to have to look forward to that. But I've even seen the positive sides of that, the familiarity of like what we want to look forward to, someone that we look up to. And if you don't have a healthy relationship with your father, maybe it's an uncle, a brother, the positive sides you see in the opposite sex. And it's so true, because even today, my dad had a knee surgery. And it took him a year, Bella, just to get the MRI. And they're like, you really need surgery. Like, we need to fix it. And he's like, I'm good. I don't think I need it. And my husband's the same way. They're a little strong-willed, but they're so strong, so dependable. And they just look out for me in such a way that I'm so thankful for. But I do think sometimes, like you're saying, little T trauma, big T trauma, are we running away from healthy choices because we don't want to actually face off, well, what are my influences? What have I been looking forward to in a partner? What have I been running to that I shouldn't? So if someone is continuously making the wrong choices, what is your advice to correct that picker?
Get help around this. It's like if you needed root canal, you're not going to ask your best friend to do the root canal, who's an esthetician, right? You're going to go to someone who knows how to do this. And look, 30 years ago, there weren't dating coaches. There was no Smart Dating Academy doing the things that we're doing. You need to find someone who can really help you through this. And I know there's a lot of people doling out dating advice out there as dating coaches. This is an unregulated business. Think about the way you should do this, in my opinion, my humble opinion. If you were going to hire a personal trainer to get fit, you'd want someone probably that you're like, wow, that person is really living being a personal trainer. They are very healthy. I admire their lifestyle. They look the way I would like to. You're not going to hire a trainer that just, came off of a dozen Dunkin' Donuts, right? So really think about the person, the people that you're going to take advice from. Super important. Advice is only as good as that person's experience. Even though they're well-meaning and they love you, they know what they know.
Yeah. I think that's even wisdom for some of the things that people, at least in my age, are going to for wisdom. Like, we're looking at people, or not even necessarily the people, but we're looking at routines of like, well, just focus on yourself, or you don't need this, or, date someone. And it doesn't matter if the first date was good or their morals don't line up, and people are running into things down the road, or unfortunately, when they do get married, thinking, well, I thought this guy was the one because we did have chemistry, but your morals didn't line up. You both didn't want a family. These hard questions that I believe you should ask relatively soon in the dating pattern. But You talked about this a little bit. Tips for making the most of a first date. Do you want to go in with hard questions? Do you want to have like a red flags list? And if they don't meet it, don't do date number 2. How should you determine the trajectory of the first date?
Look, you want to see, do I like this person? Do I enjoy their company? This is a date, not a deposition. Okay? So we don't need to go in there grilling questions. Just, did I have fun for this hour, hour and a half? Did I laugh? Was this person nice? Did they seem like they had good intentions? Was the conversation easy, right? Chemistry can come later in the game. I'm not that worried about that in the beginning, right? And so really looking for those things first. Then I agree with you. In the subsequent 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dates, then you want to make sure that you value the same things. If you want to get married, don't back off of that. If this guy is like, yeah, I don't really know what I want. You're like, oh, me neither. He told you he didn't know what he wanted, right? And women, we're very good at hearing what we want to hear.
Yes.
Right? The dudes, most of them tell the truth. It may not be the truth you want to hear, but very rarely are they trying to deceive you in the beginning.
Yeah.
If someone says he doesn't know what he wants, it's not because he hasn't met you yet. It's he doesn't know what he wants. And 3 months later, he's going to be like, well, I told you I didn't know what I wanted. So I don't know. By that time, you're oxytocin bonded, thinking about having kids. You've met and he told you in the beginning who he was.
That's such good advice. Ladies, I hope all of us hear this because we think, well, we'll just tiptoe around conversations until we know we really like them. Our hearts are already in it. I think your mind needs to be at a good place before you let your heart fall, because then you just have this film and this gaze. And I'm really curious if you've seen this, Bella. I think there are a few key things that can kind of be those blinders for us where we're just, our friends are telling us he's not a good guy. He was doing this. He was rude to the waitress. He told you he doesn't want kids. Like, what are some of the things that you tell women, hey, I want you to be aware of? I've already heard trauma, getting feelings too quick. Are there any other things that you just think, hey, we should really be mindful of this when we're dating so we don't get blindsided?
Yeah, I mean, if this person seems like they have trouble having relationships with other people, right? If they play the victim a lot, my job sucks, my boss sucks, my friends suck, my family sucks. Wow, what's the common denominator in all of that? You, right? And so, right, anybody that's playing the victim, anybody that, I've dated all these people and they're all terrible. It's like, okay, that doesn't sound like someone who's done his or her work. That is not your person either. And somebody that just feels like a dark cloud, right? I'm assuming you're listening to this amazing podcast that you are bright and sunny like our beautiful host. You want someone that's going to have a positive disposition. If you walk in and it's like womp womp every time, right? People show us who they are. It's up to us to believe them, right? Said Maya Angelou.
Yeah. Great quote. She's phenomenal. Read her book. I'm so thankful for all of this hard truth, but great wisdom. Now, I hear the girl in the comments, that's saying, well, what if he just had a bad day and it was just the first date? How many second chances should I give this guy?
If you want to yellow flag somebody versus red flag, give it one more date, right? It's like lifting up if you see like a roach, you see one, you're like, oh man, there's a whole bunch wherever that guy came from. Usually with yellow flags, it turns into a red flag and then there's more red flags. So give it another date. But again, don't be too quick to have heavy makeout sessions. Know yourself. If you get oxytocin bonded through a makeout session, keep yourself objective, right? When you have high levels of oxytocin or estrogen or all of the crazy making hormones that start going through us, especially as women, that's our power, is we attach, right? So use your power judiciously. If someone hasn't earned your attachment, don't give it to them yet.
Amen. That is so good. I've met so many women, especially in the last year, that just have this shame story. And then they want to shame themselves, even thinking that they don't deserve to have a healthy relationship because they did attach to the wrong person, or unfortunately something happened to them and someone took advantage of. So if there's a woman that's either coming to the table thinking, well, I don't deserve to have a healthy relationship, and they're entering a self-sabotage loop, what would you say to one, just, edify that they are worthy, they are lovable, but also help them see the light at the end of the tunnel and correct that way of thinking when it comes to dating?
If you think you're not worthy of a relationship, what are you going to bring in? Someone who will prove that to you. And they're going to treat you like crap, right? What you focus on grows. What you focus on is what you're going to bring in. If you feel like I've made mistakes, or I've had a really traumatic background and nobody will love me, I don't love myself, I don't deserve to be loved, but you still have this like Disney princess living inside of you that thinks that somebody's going to come along and rescue you, chances are that's the exception over the rule. Take a step out of the dating world and get some help first, so that you don't stumble into someone that is not going to love you and someone that is not going to value you.
Yeah. I mean, that savior complex, I think, is so, I see two sides of that. Women either run away from any good guy because they're just like, I don't deserve it, or they are waiting for the unicorn to come along. And I think they hinder so many other sides of themselves and for healing, because it's like, well, if I just find the guy that can say I'm lovable, then I'll believe I'm lovable. And then all these other things can come through. So I think that's really great advice. Take this time to heal. Singleness is not a punishment. It's actually a great time for healing. What are your favorite things about singleness that you tell people to encourage them if they are still waiting to meet the right person?
Look, it's a gift to be single, right? It's a gift to, for fear of sounding cliched, date yourself. And really, ultimately, I think so much of self-love is knowing who you really are. Not all the BS of what we think we should be, but who am I really? And accepting that. Mm-hmm. Accepting that. And you have this time to do that, to really sit down and go, who am I for real? What do I really need in a relationship? What do I want in a relationship, right? And then look around. You probably have a lot of love in your life already that you're literally not conscious of. Think about all the people that love you already. You have love, right? Sometimes we think in the absence of romantic love, oh, I'm so lonely, I need love. I'm like, look at all the people in your life that love you already. We do this with our clients. Like, look at who are the people in your life that make you happiest. Everybody has people when you sit down and think about it. So you are loved.
Yeah. That's so
know that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And think about the friendships that you've cultivated. I know friends that have been single and they think I'm never going to meet the guy, but they have so many friends show up to their birthdays that love them and then there for them. I'm like, if you're this caliber of a friend, you're going to be an amazing wife. And I just want to edify that for anyone listening. Don't think because you're not there, you'll never get there, or because you're not in this status box and you never could be there. Bella, I want to ask you, the girl that's never even been on a date and is just so nervous thinking, what do I do? What do I dress? How do I act? Do you have any coping mechanisms of just like ways to get the anxiety out, or like fiddling hands? What are some practical tips on their very first date?
My tip is going to be a little different than I think you're anticipating. I would say for your very first date, if you have the option, pick someone that you're not like super interested in or attracted to. Like, break the seal with someone where you can kind of test out how you are on a date and what it feels like to be on a date. Don't wait until you're like, oh my God, this person looks perfect, right? And then you're going to trip over yourself. This is like anything else. You want to practice a little bit. And that's not out of malice. Number one, one of your practice dates could turn out to be the love of your life.
Yeah, right? It sounds like a rom-com.
And the beauty of doing it that way is you're bringing the best version of yourself, because you're not that anxious. Because you're like, oh, just tell yourself I'm going to meet a new friend, right? I get a lot of people that have social anxiety, and this is how I help them to date. It's like, okay, let's pick someone that doesn't make you anxious. And I want you to just look at this like, I'm going out to meet a new friend, or I'm going out to meet my best friend's new boyfriend. Right? And then you you go into the date with those expectations. Think about it. If you're going out to meet your best friend's new boyfriend, you're like, oh my God, It's my best friend. And so she's already told him all these amazing things about me, and he's going to want to make a really good impression on me. And likewise, and we're going to hang out, and you come in and you're just positive and like really hungry to make a great connection with this person for no other reason than you just want them, you want it to be good. Go in with that mindset. It makes dating so much more fun.
That's good. That's a good analogy too, because I remember when someone asked me, well, what was it that stood out about my husband than all the other guys? And I thought, well, I just thought his character was so amazing that if my best friend said, hey, there's this guy, should I go on a date with him? I'd say 100% yes. If you are wondering, is this a good guy? Like, can I really trust myself? And you think, man, I would let my sister date this guy. I can see his integrity. Those are all green flags I think we should be a little bit more aware of. Fun question for you. You mentioned you have a 20-year-old daughter. So I'm curious, if you had to pick maybe a celebrity or a well-known guy, who's the guy that you're like, oh, this is a model example of someone I would put my daughter on a date with if she's single?
Okay, so my daughter is not single, but she has a great boyfriend. She better. Her mom's a dating coach.
Right.
But, I like it. He's too old for her and he's married. But I really like the character of Ryan Reynolds. Right?
Fun, lively.
Fun, right. Married to Blake Lively and lively himself. And he is always talking about her so positively and elevating her, like how she's, the brains behind the operation and so beautiful and so amazing and a great mom and a great actress and all of these things. I really think, and he's clearly smart and planful and thoughtful and a good protector. So I think someone like a Ryan Reynolds would be great.
Okay. Those are the things. If there's any guys listening, those are the attributes you want to have. This has been so much fun. I am looking forward to hearing women that come out and say, I went on my first date and it was amazing, or I found out why I've been dating the wrong guy. So Bella, thank you so much for tuning in. How can women get in touch with you or find out more from you if they want to connect?
So I have a podcast called the Smart Dating Academy Podcast. Come to our database. Go to smartdatingacademy.com. Follow me at Smart Dating Academy. I would love that.
Thank you so much for joining this episode of the Dear Future Husband podcast. I hope you found some nuggets of wisdom that you're going to use on your next date. And if you did, you should leave a comment. Let me know. I want to hear how your guys' dating experiences are going and if you can actually inspire someone else that's getting ready to go on theirs. As always, please make sure to rate, review, subscribe so we can keep making content for you. Love you guys, and I'll see you back for the next episode.